What's going on, everybody? Today I'm going to show you how to cut, generate, and program a Xhorse Universal Key. We're going to be using our Xhorse tools today, including the Key Tool Max, our Universal Keys, the Mini OBD tool, the Xhorse Dolphin key cutter. We're also going to need our key blade, our roll pin, and our chip. So, purpose of this video is I've got a working key already for the vehicle. It's getting really worn out, as do Honda keys, which is this example's on Honda Ridgeline. These Honda keys wear out pretty much all the time, so I'm going to make a new one here. We've got our empty remote. Our circuit board is plugged into the Key Tool Max without a battery, as the wired ones program without a battery. We're going to start by generating the remote for the vehicle. I'm going to go over to the main menu and hit Vehicle Remote. Go down to Honda. I'm going to select Ridgeline. And this is going to be on a 06 through 14. This picture has a trunk button, but it'll just go ahead and do nothing. So there's our key, our remote. I'm going to hit generate remote. It's plugged in. Burn success. Now we have the remote generated for putting back into the key shell. Go ahead and unplug it from the key tool. We'll put the key tool aside for now. So now that a remote is generated, we can take our key. When we get a battery in there, it's going to fit back there. But what I always do is cut the key before I install it into the remote. Make sure I have a good working key. So we've got our remote generated. Now we're going to go over to cutting the key, and then we'll set up our chip, get the key put together, and get it programmed to the car. Alright, now that we have generated our remote, we're going to go ahead and cut our key blade and then install it on the remote, get the chip installed, and then we'll program it to the car. So what we're going to do is cut this one by code. These Honda keys just do not hold up over time, so even decoding them is a pain. You'll get a lot of wrong readings sometimes, so I'm just going to play it safe here. I'm going to cut it by code. So we'll be in our key tool menu at the key cutter. We're going to go to all keys lost. We'll go down to Honda. Now here's where it's asking for our key code. I'm going to type that in privately. And then we'll go ahead and search it. Okay, so now that we have our key code entered, it's going to give us our list of menus for cutting options. We just want to make sure we're on our M2 clamp, A clamp. You'll see that at the top of the jaw there. So we'll go ahead and select that. Now here's where it's asking us to put the key blade to tip align position 2. You can see there it's on position 2. There's 2 lines there. It's the far back one. So we're going to go ahead and hit OK. And then I will start cutting the key. So once we hit that, we'll confirm once again everything looks good. We're going to hit continue. Show you what the key machine's doing. So you guys are aware the key tool also shows you a progress percentage. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and get that brushed off, switched over to the other side, and we'll resume cutting the key. Alright, we got our key flipped over to the other side. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK and cut key again on the key tool. Confirm that our jaw and everything is set up correctly. Then we will resume cutting. You see how many times it measures the key. If you're off a bit, it's going to tell you. So once it starts cutting, you know you're good. Alright, so we just got our other side cut there. Go ahead and take that out of our key machine. I just want to show you guys the difference here, why we're doing this. That key is still pretty good, but it's starting to round off right at the tip there. And what you'll see, especially if you're a locksmith and go to customers' Hondas, it's probably going to be round completely. I believe that's a huge contributing factor to why these ignitions and door locks fail. If you see brand new cut from code, it's like a pyramid, and it allows those tumblers to ramp over properly. So yeah, there's a good example. I recommend replacing these as often as you're willing to spend the money. So now that we got the key cut, go ahead and get it inserted into our remote and get it programmed to the vehicle. Alright you guys, it's going to be kind of hard to film with one hand, but what we got going on here is our roll pin press. We got our key blade inserted into the remote. Our roll pin is on top of the hole, and then we're going to press it down with the press and insert in the blade. So one thing to make note of is there's an insert hole. You're just going to want to make sure the blades flip the right way. It's the only way it'll take the roll pin. This I got off like Alibaba. There's quite a few copies of it and works good. It's just kind of awkward to use. So I'm going to go ahead and clip to the point where I insert the roll pin. We'll just pull this red handle down. If you'll see there, the roll pin will press right in there. It's pretty straightforward. So alright, you guys, so we just punched the roll pin in the key. It's working good. Get close there. Puts a really nice real clean roll pin punch. Doesn't overshoot it or anything. You don't have to smack it with a hammer. You hold the remote end with that little spike, and then you just kind of feed the roll pin into this tube there. So if you're seen one, pick one up. It definitely helps get the job done faster. So what we're gonna do, and why I do it in this order, is I still got my remote taken apart. That way I don't have to take things apart over and over again if something's not working. Secondly, I have adjusted for this problem, but I have made the mistake of cutting keys after I put them into a remote, and the Dolphin comes with a plastic guard that hangs down to about here, and I've had these remotes get snagged on the cutters, and then you ruin a blade or break a cutter. So got rid of the guard just to avoid that, but process still remains the same. So now that we got our key, let's go ahead and make sure it works. Then we'll get the chip in there and get it programmed. Alright, you guys, we're at our door lock here. I'm gonna go ahead and just make sure that the key works. Perfect. Turn to the other side. It's working very smooth. That's what you want to see. It'll save your locks. Let's go ahead and get this key put together. I'll show you how to generate the chip and we'll get it programmed to the car. Alright, so now that we got the key blade cut, we're ready to put our remote back together. But before we do that, we're going to go ahead and generate our chip. Now you have a couple options with this. You can clone it, which is the easier way to do. But some of these Hondas program the remote and the chip at the same time. So if this were like a Honda Civic or something, you would have to follow this process for it to work. So what we're going to do is, we've got our blank chip here. We're going to put that in our little receiver. We're going to go to generate transponder. Now, upon doing your research, you can do car model, and I'm just going to show you here. There's no Acura, there's no Honda. You go to others, it's ID 46. So we want ID 46. But what I'm going to make sure that we do to get the right one here is I'm going to go back to our chip type, and you see I got two options. If I go to the first one, it's giving me all these different variations. Got 46 Honda Accord 8th. Go ahead and do ID 46 PCF 7937 new chip. That should be the one we're looking for. We're going to hit generate. Now we're complete. Now I just want to explain something to show the versatility of this product. That chip has already been cloned to my vehicle. It's already been starting and driving this car for over a year, and I've just reset it, and now I've generated a new transponder with that same chip. So it's a great way to make sure you don't waste product and money. What we can do now is get this inserted into our key. We'll get everything clipped together, and then we'll get it programmed to the car. Alright, now we got our chip in the remote. I'm going to show you how that's inserted there in just a moment, just because it's probably impossible for me to film it and get it in there at the same time. Put a battery in our remote. I'm going to go ahead and get that in the case. Make sure that we have it aligning. Make sure all your buttons pressed normally too. Get some where you pinch it off and it like sets the alarm off over and over again. So here's how I have the chip. See if I can get in there to show you. It's hard to see. It's that little rectangular piece sticking out there. So I don't know if it's just some of these earlier model ones or if I'm not doing it right, but it just appears like they don't have anywhere reasonable to put the chip. Some of them have this little slot, including this one, but no matter what way you put it in, just be careful that it's not sloshing around in there, jumping around. So now that we got everything put together, give it a little courtesy shake. Chip is nice and secure in there. I'm gonna go ahead and put this little metal trim piece back on there, and then we're going to get it programmed to the car. Alright you guys, we got our key put together, everything's clipped together, chips in there, keys cut, remotes programmed or generated. I've got the key tool put away. I've tried to program it already with this key and the remote. It's not working, so if you do this regularly, it's not uncommon. Sometimes you get a stubborn vehicle. I've used the key tool on many Hondas. It's worked great, especially all keys lost on push to starts. So definitely not going to knock it for one vehicle here. I've got the Autech. It's one of my first and cheapest programmers, but let me tell you, this thing is a workhorse. For the cars that it does work on, it works. I'm going to go ahead and try Old Reliable here. Going to Honda. See if I can get some of this reflection away. Go by vehicle. Go to Ridgeline. This is a 2012. We're doing a key. So go ahead and put the ignition on. I'm going to do all key lost. The reason I'm doing all key lost is earlier on in the video I said that I cloned the chip that was working for this car. I reset that chip and then I generated in a blank 46, so I can show you how to do this from scratch, get it programmed all to the cars if you didn't have anything. Just might need a couple tools from my experience on this one. So we're going to go ahead and got the ignition on. We want one key to work the vehicle. Turn ignition off. Turn ignition on. Turn ignition off in 15 seconds. Turn ignition on. That theft light is blinking. Wants the ignition off again. Turn ignition back on. Our theft light is out. Did the immobilizer go out? Yes, it did. We'll hit OK. Turn ignition off. Turn ignition on. Success. So let's make sure it starts the car. Perfect. So that key's programmed. Again, we generated that chip from a Universal Xhorse chip. It's an ID46. The chip programmed to the vehicle. Now we can focus on the remote. Yeah, I'm just this Autech impresses me. I mean, I've got Autel and Xhorse, and you know, they go through systems telling you might have to remove a fuse on these Hondas, and this Autech nails them every time. So if you don't have one for 500 bucks, it's worth picking up. Let's do the remote now. So see, these buttons don't do much. Honda's got a process for the Ridgeline. It's an onboard process, so you can do this if you just buy a remote yourself. What we're going to do is go to the ignition, See if I can get a good angle here. We're going to turn the ignition on. We're going to hit lock or unlock. Turn ignition off. Ignition on. Lock or unlock. Ignition back off. Ignition on. Lock, unlock. Off. Back on. Lock or unlock. You heard the door lock cycle. You'll hit the lock button one more time and your remote will be programmed to the vehicle. You can turn the ignition back off to exit your programming mode, and we'll go ahead and show you those locks working. Let me shut the door here. Oh, I have the passenger door open, that's why it's not unlocking. Let's get out of the car. Do it this way. All right. Well, remote's working good. Well, there you have it, folks. That's how you generate, program a key using your Xhorse Universal Keys, Xhorse Universal Chip, Xhorse Key Cutter, and then the universal blades, of course. So I hope this helps. Thank you for your time.